What is good, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this one I want to break down what's going on with Tesla, SPY, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to break down what's happening with the economic calendar thus far, what's going on with the other factors following the markets, what you should be watching for as time progresses. Before I begin the devil's information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things. I am firstly not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull and deposit $500 into the account, you're guaranteed 20 free stocks. And deposit $25,000 or more, you're guaranteed 75 free stocks. And the offer ends very soon in just a couple of weeks. Anyways, what happened to the market was we got a very, very nice rebound on SPY as we broke our resistance at 515. In the morning was looking kind of weak, kind of struggling to break this, and we got this nice breakout from there. We continued to push all the way up to about 520. But then once we got up here, we got this little rejection, and now we're just trading sideways between our EMAs. So the question is, which way will SPY go? I want to talk about that and also break down why next week is going to be very important. So what's happening with the next week? We actually have lots of big stuff coming out. The week will start off in a very, very quiet note, but then things will get very, very serious starting on Wednesday. So for Monday, we only have consumer inflationary expectations. Then we have, after that, we have some bill auctions coming out on Tuesday, but everything's very minor for those days. But then as we approach Wednesday, things become very, very serious. On Wednesday, we have CPI coming out, and we're expecting CPI to be a little bit hot, actually, year over year. That's very, very ironic, and we'll see how this ends up coming out. If it's even hotter than expected, this could be a bit more bearish, especially because crude oil is going up, gas prices are going up, energy looks like it's increasing too. So you want to be very, very careful with that data coming out. Going into Thursday, we have PPI data coming out. That's also going to be very important. This could also shake the markets. Core PPI is expected to be a little bit hotter than before, and then PPI for year over year is also expected to be a little hot. So we're expecting this to go up just a bit. Not the best of news as well if it ends up being hotter than the expectations. So we'll have to wait and see how things end up looking. So we're expecting a slight increase in PPI. And then for Friday, in terms of data, we just have exports and import prices coming out, and then the Michigan consumer sentiment data that could affect us alongside some Fed speakers. But what else is very important would be earnings. So earnings are going to start off very, very quietly, right? We just have a few others coming out for like Monday and beyond. Going into Tuesday, it's all just very, very minor, like WD-40, Delta, CarMax. But then, starting on Friday, before the market opens, the official earnings season kicks off again. We get serious because we have JP Morgan Chase, Wells Fargo, BlackRock, and Citi all announcing their earnings. They could cause some high volatility depending on what's announced and such. So that's going to be very, very important. Now, for the fear and greed index, right now, things are quite greedy. We're not at extreme greed. We're not neutral. We're just kind of stuck right now. Things could change over time, but we have to give the market the time it needs. The fear and greed index overall, even though it's shifting, these other sectors are also moving too. The puts and call position is going up just a bit. We start to see more put buying, which is very interesting. And as a result of put buying going up today, we saw the market end up pushing upwards. So the people buying puts once again ended up not in the best of places. And on top of all of that, when it comes to market volatility, we saw the VIX spike again. It hit extreme fear. Now it's starting to come down just a bit. We'll see if this starts falling down to fill its gap or not. But the market's in a very, very critical place. Now, I also want to note that as the market is approaching resistance, you want to be careful just watching how SPY ends up moving, because looking at the charts, it's very simple actually. I mean, if I pull up the 4-hour time frame and kind of like stop worrying specifically about levels, just look at this, guys. You guys can see that SPY has a very interesting structure right here. We have this head and shoulders like structure, and we have this high at just under 524. So SPY is technically starting to downtrend a bit, right? We had this high up here at 526. We came down. We made a new lower high right over here around 523.8. Then we came down on the head and shoulders like structure all the way down to 512. We pushed back up to about 520. Now we're stuck right here. So as we're on this downtrend, I'm going to be watching to see if we can end up pushing a little bit higher. Can we retest 520 to 522? And if we establish a lower high, the trend is going to likely continue downwards, and we could see more downside on SPY, especially as we have this gap down here at 509. I also want to note that we have CPI coming out, so that's going to have a big effect on the markets. So just be careful. We're going to see where SPY peaks at. That's going to be very, very key for next week. It could actually be that the peak is in already, and this thing's going to start downtrending more, or it could pop a little bit more, and then we could get a big move like after that. So we'll have to watch and see how that goes. I will talk specifically more about this tomorrow. Tomorrow, since I have more details about it. On Tesla, it's very interesting. So Tesla came down really, really hard today. all the way down to about the 262 zone, and it ended up closing all the way down to lower levels. But now it's trying to bounce because we had some big news that came out. The big news came out that Tesla is going to make a big announcement involving the Model 2 and the Robotaxi by August. If that ends up being the case, and things are very, very exciting for the stock, we could see the share price gap up or even push a little bit higher before it makes its way back down, in my opinion. But I think that Tesla has been in a range. It's been range bound for quite some time, right? We have this big head and shoulders like structure, and it's been just continuing to be stuck between supply and demand. So it may continue to remain this way. Could push a little bit higher off the announcement by Elon Musk that they're making this big announcement for their Robotaxi, but then it could sink back down lower. So I'm going to be watching for a push towards this resistance right here. We basically have 175 is the next major resistance level as we're above 172.5. Then above that, we have where this wick is very, very close to 177. If it pops those resistance levels, it could reject and come back down later. And I'll be watching very carefully how it reacts to about 170, then 167.8. But overall, Tesla should gap up on Monday, and then we'll see what happens with the big announcement. The QQQ is also on a slight downtrend. So it's very interesting because this has been trading sideways for the last 2 months, right? Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, price action. So for the last couple of months, not couple of months, last couple of weeks, it's also been downtrending simultaneously. If you look at this, it hit its high right here just under 450, and since then it's been slowly making lower highs and lower lows, slowly coming back down. So I think that the QQQ could try to grab liquidity again around 442, but there could be a big rejection coming, especially if we establish a lower high relative to 447. If we fail to break that, this thing could establish a lower high and make its way right back down. So I would be expecting that later on during the week, especially as we have CPI coming out. So we've been stuck in this range, could pop a little bit higher than make its way back down. If we lose 440, we're going to be looking for a move all the way down to about 438. 438 is going to be key, followed by low levels like 436 and beyond. It could push a little bit higher, retest our 50 EMA at 442, and then eventually make our way back down lower. I do see that as a strong possibility. For Aapl has been stuck going back and forth as well. And I also want to note that if you look at the hourly time frame, okay, on the hourly time frame, we've been stuck as well, just trading sideways. So it's just algorithms taking over, the robots taking over, trading this sideways, back and forth price action. It's very boring. There's not really a whole lot going on with it. It's basically stuck between 169 and 170, by the way, just to clarify. Whichever way it breaks will determine the bigger move, but for now, it's just very stationary. Supermicro, same thing, on a bit of a downtrend. We were talking about this yesterday, and now we're going to be looking for a test. I think it might retest 963. Could go a little bit higher to 983, like this range might be retested before it continues lower, but the trend is still bearish. It's still on a bit of a downtrend. It's still falling quite greatly, so it's not really getting the big bounce it could be looking for. So with this bearish trend that's developing, and anticipate more downside, could pop a little bit higher first and continue lower. For SoFi, we're just range bound. There's not really much going on with it. And let me just go over a couple more. Coinbase, as we called out this head and shoulders like structure, it's just riding this trend line down. And there is a risk of this coming all the way down towards 235 and eventually lower levels down here. So I do see some more downside potential. Amazon got a nice bounce today, pushing up over 2.83%, trying to push up higher, breaking these highs. I could see a test of 286 coming. The chart is still bullish as of right now. It might retrace a little bit, retest 184 before it continues higher. The chart's still holding up. Meta got a big bounce, came down yesterday and got a big bounce back up. We're retesting 530. If it breaks, watch for 535 and then 540. Overall, it's still on a bullish trend. For a few more things, I just want to note that the VIX is still at this high, kind of rejecting a bit. If it keeps sinking, if we sink back down, we're going to be looking for a test of 15.01 and also the 15.25 range. That's where we have this previous resistance becoming support. Could come down a bit, then we could bounce later, so we'll have to see how it goes. With that being said, guys, the market is still showing some life. Could push a little bit higher, but watch resistance. Like I said before, even if SPY does push a bit higher, there could still be a downtrend being established once you look at the bigger trend. With that being said, I'm going to conclude the video from here. I want you guys to just enjoy the weekend. Do what you have to do, guys, and I'll see you guys very soon tomorrow on the next one. Thank you for listening, and peace out.